Well, folks, here we again for the weekly forecast. And during this last week, most of the precipitation out to the end of the week was in western Nebraska, as we've seen a northwest flow with the upper air trough pivoting across the upper Midwest. That left a northwest to a southeast flow, and we did see scattered thunderstorm activity almost on a daily basis in western Nebraska into south central Nebraska, very little in eastern Nebraska, and we've been pretty much dry for the last 2 weeks. And that dryness now is starting to become a concern. After the big wet during June, we've seen many areas of eastern Nebraska start to fall apart in terms of precipitation, running anywhere from 30 to 50% of normal for the month, so we are starting to accumulate some deficits. Now, if we go to the current drought monitor, we will see some changes, and one of the changes I want to bring your attention is you'll see a little nose coming up into south central Nebraska with abnormally dry conditions. Now, this is an area that was first to come online with drought in Nebraska for this spring, and we did not see this as much moisture during the month of June as other areas of the state, and therefore we're starting to see things deteriorate rather rapidly. And I would expect, barring excessive precipitation over this next few hours, that this area will be upgraded to some extent to at least D1 conditions, with an expansion of abnormally dry conditions into parts of south central and southeast Nebraska. So as we look at the upper air model today, we do have that trough in place. This is a response for the precipitation that came through the western Nebraska last night and through this morning, and is now in its process of moving through the state. We have high pressure that will be building in as the day progresses, starting to dry things out during the later part of the day, but we see that we have this precipitation shield that will be sliding toward the south-southeast. Now as we go into tomorrow, with that push with this front, we get much cooler air, and the trough basically stays in place. High pressure to our north, low pressure down over the Texas Panhandle. Does show that with that trough we will have some upslope flow, so some generation of precipitation along the front range, but high and dry everywhere else. By Monday, we start to see this trough trying to show some signs of moving toward the east. We still have high pressure to our north and to our west, and most of the precipitation associated with that trough will remain to our south. That trough really deepens to some extent as we get into Tuesday, bringing cool air straight from the north into our region, high pressure firmly controlled across the plains region. So most of the precipitation associated with this trough will be from the mid-Mississippi Valley region up to the lower Ohio River Valley region. And by the time we get to Wednesday, we start to see that trough breaking apart and lifting toward the northeast. The high pressure starts to build in, so we start to see the warmth returning to western Nebraska as surface lows take place up in Montana and southern Idaho, but the heavy precipitation will be associated with the trough as it moves closer to the eastern seaboard. And then as we get into Thursday, we start to get a zonal flow. Here's still the remembrance of that trough, with surface low indicated for western South Dakota. Now, because that surface cold front on the eastern seaboard, that's going to interrupt the flow of moisture into our region, so this looks like to be a very dry low as it moves through. And as we get into the day on Friday, the main jet lays right across the Nebraska-South Dakota border, showing a surface low developing in the Texas Panhandle. That may start to move some moisture up into our region, and in combination with a cold front that will be coming through next weekend, that may generate some precipitation. Now, as this system passes toward the southeast, we get another influence briefly with cool high pressure, meaning next Thursday through the following Tuesday looks to be below normal, although there are signs that much warmer temperatures will build in, and then of course we have drier than normal conditions projected in the same period.